Hey guys, and welcome to a super weird yet interesting game of Total War Warhammer 2. On the left hand side we have the mighty prophet of all cheddar of leading the forces of the Vampire Council. I believe this is actually its current year YouTube royalty himself. And on the right hand side we have Kafka, a warrior of old from RTK who has taken many a mighty scalp before, bringing one of the weirdest Lizardmen builds I've ever seen. It is like two builds mushed together. It is beautiful. But before we delve into that, let's take a little look at this Vampire Count force. And I've been often harsh to Vampire Counts over my time as a Total War YouTuber, but I must admit, when you see a player like its current year bring them, they often can be rather exciting. And we have some Black Knights on the left-hand side streaming towards the enemy, screaming a battle prayer on their lips. We have zombies dotted through the front line, and in the distance we have even more Black Knights as well. Skeleton Spear Warriors and Grave Guard make up the main battle line, which is decent to see. I particularly like the inclusion of the Grave Guard with great weapons. That armor piercing really helps out against the Saurus warriors. A couple of Fellbats up in the sky with a corpse cart down on the low ground. Double Vargulf working as bodyguards for Heinrich Kemmler today, who's coming with a lot of goodies. We have Invocation of Heck, Gaze in the Gash, Raised Dead, and of course that mighty Krell summon. Up in the skies we have Vampire of Death simply with Spirit Leech. Now the Spirit Leech spamming Vampire up in the skies has become very popular in recent times. You can certainly see why. It's just free value all day long if you can keep them alive, and it's quite easy to keep them alive up in the sky. Now we're going to delve into the Lizardmen build. Now this is the real reason we're doing this video today, because it is just so bizarre. I'm still trying to figure it out here. We have a box and a skirmish build kind of meshed together. So we actually have 6 skirmishers here with basically nothing to protect them. We have Chameleon Skinks mixed in with the basic skink skirmishers. Looks like for the most part it is the basic ones. And then we kind of have the what we can afford of a box build. So we have double Saurus Spears. We have double Bastiladons as well, one of which is Arcasotic. The other is a Rev Crystal. And the reason you're bringing a Rev Crystal today is because we have the Shredder of Lustria, the biggest and the best of all the boys. Don't let Grimlock catch me saying that, but let's give him a little neck scratch just to let him know he's pretty damn badass. Likewise, we have Nakai the Wanderer going alongside him with the Miasma of Despair, as well as the Golden Tributes, taking a little knock to the face there from the rather excited Saurian, getting its day out at the park. We have a Skink Priest or Beast coming with a Manticore Summon and Flock of Doom, and that's going to be it. So I'm really interested to see how these skirmishers fare, because they have almost nothing to fall back to. No cavalry to protect them, no box to really get in behind, because the investments have been split so much. We'll have to see if it does perform really well, though I suppose it is quite flexible. A lovely battlefield for the Lizardmen as well. They're taking the high ground really early on. This map is quite uphill, which is quite rough, unfortunately, for the Vampire Counts. They have no way to shoot the enemy and drag them down to the lower ground, so they're going to have to march their undead bouteilles up into the sky here. Loads of blow darts are going to be going in after the Vampire of Death. Not a bad target whatsoever. Force her back and drive her from whence she came. Heinrich Kemmler is currently hiding in the trees. Doesn't want to give any good targets for the Lizardmen just yet, as the Chameleons do stretch their skink legs and push out towards the Black Knights, who have 80 armor and bronze shields. They're not going to be too fussed by a couple of blow darts coming towards them. However, a Shredder of Lustria wandering over towards them is probably going to get their attention just a little bit more. And this is definitely not an engagement they want to take, and it looks like its current year certainly knows this, pulling away the Black Knights as swiftly as possible, though 1 or 2 models unfortunately have been caught up by the Shredder, and he will certainly dismantle them, though he does get distracted feasting upon the souls of just 1 unit. Double Vargulf can certainly give the Shredder a run for his money, but with Nakai nearby giving him all those buffs and debuffing the enemy, it can be a little bit scary. Now we can see the big blowpipe darts on the back of the Shredder are unleashing hell, as well as some of the javelins down onto the Vargulfs doing some nice damage. But this is the problem: the Fellbats as well as the Black Knights are just ramrodding all of these skirmishers, who are trying to fall back to the safety of the Saurus Spears, who are not doing too bad a job pinning in the Black Knights. With some good micromanagement, the skink skirmishers are all going to be butchered, and that's so much money just gone down the drain due to the fact there's a decent amount of skirmish cav and of course the Fellbats up in the sky. We do get a big fat early Feral Manticore Summon being birthed into the realms of existence. Might not be the worst idea going after Heinrich Kemmler or supporting up against these Vargulfs here, though the Shredder is certainly having a relatively decent day. Nakai the Wanderer as well swoops in, splattering skeleton bones and remains all over the battlefield, and collides pretty aggressively with this Vargulf. He takes a Gaze in the Gash to the face, but Nakai loves it. That's just the wake-up shower gel he needed in the morning to really loosen up those limbs and start to get swinging. And the Vargulf himself is not having a good time getting assassinated right now. The Shredder is going to be pushing forward as well, though Spirit Leech does go down on the Majestic Beastie. The majority of the Skink Skirmishers have been scattered to the winds. A few are starting to rally, though. Those zombies and skeleton spearmen can now escort them towards the edge of the battlefield. And if you're shooting zombies the entire day, the Vampire Camp player be very, very happy, because that's not going to get you any value whatsoever. It does look like the Varghulf does get a cheeky undeath resurgence. That is going to stabilize it considerably, and it looks like it is back in the fight, which is really good news. So the Shredder is very healthy in the mid stage of this battle. Skink Priest is even getting down and dirty, and the Ark of Sotek, up to 8 kills so far, is roaming through the Graveguard. Now, you need to assassinate your Ark of Sotek, otherwise they will destroy your entire infantry supply. They are really deadly now. The Shredder is going after Heinrich Kemmler. It's a bit of a trap, though, because the Varghulfs were hitting him in the rear for considerable time there, and he's taking big damage right now, but he roars an angry battle cry and tries to shunt and force push his way through all these annoying Fellbats. Nakai gonna help his buddy out there, trying to swing through them and also jump on top of the zombies. We also have the Rev Crystal and the Ark of Sotek knee deep in blood and guts. Unfortunately, you're up against the undead, so most of that is going to be rather smelly and rotten. The zombies are going down to the consistent pressure from the Skink Skirmishers, but once again, this is really good news for the Vampire Camp player, and the Black Knights are simply going to run down the Skink Skirmishers and bound around the battlefield on the back line here, cleaving up the enemy, though there are some Saurus Spears nearby, and they're doing a really decent job forcing back Black Knights and allowing the Skinks a little bit of respite, though there are a lot of Graveguard nearby, which certainly isn't going to be going too well for the Dino boys there. Now, the Shredder of Lustria has taken significant damage, but he is certainly not out of this fight. As long as there is breath in the Shredder's lungs, the Dinos will continue to scrap and go on. Now, Krell has been summoned. He has also been absolutely beat down. Gary said, hey, this was my battlefield before you were even born, boy, and just flings him miles across the battlefield, and Krell has to trudge his way back. Not good at all for a unit who has to obviously try to use up as much of the time as possible in a productive way, because he is simply a summon, though. Looks like the Skink Priest might be going over to have a word. Now, the Varghulfs are getting buffed up once again by the Undeath Resurgence. They're doing a decent job, though. The Shredder of Lustria is a mighty beast indeed, pushing its way through and slapping that Varghulf. Looking to isolate and kill one beast at a time is certainly what both players need to be trying to do with so many single entities on the battlefield, and the Varghulf goes down to the snapping draws of the apex predator of the old and new world. And just as we say that, we get a Manticore summon birthed into the world. Might be used to jump on this second Varghulf and help finish it off, because it does look like the Shredder is taking significant damage right now. He's getting very, very low, and the Skink Priest does fall back, but he hears the scream of the Shredder taking damage. He's like, no, I shall turn and fight alongside such a awesome unit. And for his troubles, he actually gets beat down by the Vampire of Death. But hey, at least he tried, and that's the most important thing. Nakai is going toe-to-toe now with a Varghulf. He does have the Shredder for support here, and he's doing a decent job. The Varghulf is looking rather worse for wear, and if they can take out this second single entity quickly, the Lizardmen still might have a chance. But balance of power is massively in favor of the Vampire Counts, because the Shredder, down to just 830 HP, is running, trying to save its own scaly skin, rather than go with the great plan. But I suppose, you know, it is a simple-minded beast at the end of the day, and it cannot conceive the might of the Slans, or know the great plan itself. If we have a little stock take of the whole battle, we do have some Skink Skirmishers who can come back, but apart from that, all the other Lizardmen forces have melted away. We simply have a few good dinos left in the form of the double Bastiladon and Nakai. The Manticore summon is about to go, and the really worrying thing here for the Lizardmen is the balance power is already pretty bad. Once they lose that Manticore, it's going to get even worse. It is flooding over towards the Varghulf. Can they take it down? No! The Varghulf was starting to crumble, but it manages to rip off the tail of the Shredder, lift it up into the skies, and roar victorious. It may cost him his life, though. He is very low HP right now, and the Skink Skirmishers are applying that pressure, trying to avenge the beautiful beast whose lifeless corpse we can see. You can almost see the light fading out, unfortunately, from the Shredder's eyes. I don't even know if the Slan's magic is going to be able to bring him back. In the main fight, though, the fact we don't have the Varghulfs here is allowing the Bastiladons just to run rampant, particularly with the support from Nakai the Wanderer, who all-round is a bit of a meme, but has some really good buffs and debuffs, and using him on the forces of the Vampire Counts is where I found him the most profitable. Ark of Sotek whips that tail back and forth, and Nakai just bodies through that Vargulf there, sending it flying. That was a true Chad move. And then he turns to engage with the Vampire of Death. There is a zombie summon coming in. The Archosotic rallies to the battle cry. In fact, both the Bastildons going after that vampire, trying to kill the key targets. And look how quickly his HP is dripping off this lovely lady as Nakai pounds the ground Hulk style either side of him, manically laughing as the Vampire of Death takes huge damage. Heinrich Himmler is also his healing cap, so he can't even really engage in the mine fight, really. And the Sneaky Snakes have been unleashed once again by the Archosotic, which is up to a silver chevron and 82 kills. That's going to have some insane damage value on it at the end of the game, but the Rev Crystal is looking very, very low. And if I'm the Vampire Count player, I'm trying to kill that as quickly as possible, because heals on the Archosotic, heals on Nakai would be so devastating right now. Cavalry thunders in, but they hit a thick wall. The horses don't want to charge this. They do not want to go in because they know the wrath of the Gabberies is nearby. And look at the bros, look at them go. I'm such a proud dino father right now. The Rev Crystal is going to be going down, but not before it pops one last Rev Crystal slot onto Nakai the Wanderer, who currently is surrounded by both the characters of the Vampire Count, and he just punches Heinrich Himmler directly in the face. That's what I think of you old man. Your time is done. It is the time of Nakai, and Heinrich Himmler didn't like getting hit in the face whatsoever. I do not blame him. Down to 648 HP. The Rev Crystal barely clinging on. If we can get a cold-blooded on that beast, that'd be so clutch right now. Archosotic up to an impressive 99 kills, looking to make it 100 in style, going after the Vampire of Death. We do get the Miasma of Despair going down. That negative leadership's really going to impact the Vampire Counts quite a bit here and make them crumble that little bit sooner. But the Rev Crystal, unfortunately, its time is done and it's going to be falling back. The Black Knights trying to escort it off the field, but they are starting to crumble a little bit here. And we have some skirmishers for support. Maybe the Rev Crystal can come back. The Archosotic once again is going to drop those slivery Sneaky Snakes, doing some pretty decent damage. The Graveguard as well as the Skeleton Spearman taking lots of damage as Nakai barely clings on to power. Heinrich Himmler, the Cloak of Mist and Shadows, going down to try to see him through this fight. He knows every man is needed to bring down a Wanderer as mighty as Nakai, but Heinrich is going to be forced back here, down to just 240 HP. He may well crumble. Zero leadership, barely clinging on for life at the moment, and the Vampire of Death is taken massive damage. The Skinks have returned from the forest, looking to surround and add their numbers to the fight, and I feel like the Lizardmen might have this. The balance of power has certainly shifted back in their favor, and the forces of the Vampire Counts start to crumble. The Vampire, who's been such a powerful warrior all game, is trying their best to cling on, but Nakai pounds Heinrich Himmler's skull into the ground, and he looks at the Vampire. You're next. And the Archosotic comes in with the final kill. What a turnaround. A beautiful, beautiful performance by both players. But hey, when Nakai's on the field, there's only ever gonna be one victor. Well played to Kafka, well played to the Cheddar Prophet, who is its current year. 135 kills, 4,357 damage on Nakai, alongside the bros, the Shredder, 4k value, the Rev Crystal coming in with the 1.1k, and the Ark of Sotek, 3,551 damage value, 150 kills. What's not to love about that? An awesome game. Well played once again to both players. I'm going to delve into kills, damage dealt, damage value, and all that good stuff in just a second. But if you guys enjoyed this video before then, make sure to leave a big fat juicy thumbs up. Subscribe as well for more Total War Warhammer content into the future. And comment down below what you thought of the battle. Bucket ton of links in the description to Twitch, Patreon, Discord, all that juicy stuff. And Discord is where you can submit your videos to the channel to have them cast. Woo, that was some wild stuff indeed. You know what? I'm going to go through the Lizardmen build first, just because I think it was that awesome. So 135 kills, 4,357 damage value, over 18k damage dealt. Nakai the Wanderer, you are a beauty. The Skink Priest of Beast mainly was used for those Manticore summons, and hey, they did decent job, so don't worry too much about his value. The Swords got picked apart. 730 damage value is pretty good, but 300 on the other unit. Big kills, 90, 87, but a lot of them up against zombies, and the Skink Skirmishers were pretty well dealt with. All of them getting really poor damage value, some even below 100, and the rest really in the low hundreds. Not that many kills either, including on the Chameleon Skinks, but it was all about the big dinos today. 150, 66, and 80 kills apiece for the three lads. 3,500 damage value on the Ark is insane. They're very, very good. Their best matchup in the game is against Vampire Counts, and if you don't focus them down, they will destroy all your infantry. But there's the kind of a bit of a problem here for the Cheddar Prophet today, is that, hey, I want to kill this Archosotek, but I freaking can't because there's a giant Shredder Illustria then. I need to kill that as well. It's such a big problem. 1,166 on the Rev Crystal, 4k, 16k damage dealt, 80 kills on the Shredder, lovely performance. As for the Mighty Prophet, 1,000 damage value on Heinrich Kemmler, 0 kills unfortunately, but he is a bit more of a support character. The Vargulfs, 1.6k and 1,000 damage value, nearly 1.7 actually on this Vargulf. They did a pretty solid job, but there was just too many dinos for them to handle. 1.5k value on the Vampire of Death with those lovely Spirit Leeches. The zombies, of course, did not do too much, but they did absorb a lot of blow darts. That is quite an important part of their job, allowing the Vargulfs to really shine. The Skeleton Spam did okay, mid-hundreds damage value-wise. The Graveguard mid to high hundreds, but nothing too crazy. 986 value being the biggest one there. Very impressive the Black Knight play. You can see 163 and 165 kills. They certainly ran down a lot of skinkies. 918 and 1,320 damage value. Fellbats didn't do too much apart from annoy the skink skirmishers early doors, and the Corpse Car as well just couldn't really get into the fight, unfortunately. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.